New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams. NYC.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from Nick of Time Show here, giving you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And it's time to talk about another Knicks win. Yes, the Knicks are on a win streak, and we beat the Wizards 134-106. Yes, it was a spanking. Yes, we saw it coming. At least I was hoping that was saw it coming, and we actually did it. Okay, so the Knicks did it 134-106. OG Anunoby gives you 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Josh Hart gives you 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Karl-Anthony Towns gives you 24 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists, and hardly played like 25 minutes. Really ain't dropped those numbers. But Cal gives you 14 and 5. Brunson gives you 26 points and 11 assists. Come on, man. My Brunson is diming up people. Brunson. Shout out to Brunson. Campaign, the guy I love to hate, gives you 17 points and 7 assists. Good job to Campaign. And my man Pac, as Tom Thibodeau likes to call him, Pacome Dadiet gives you 9 points. 3 of 6 from 3. And the Knicks, once again, reach over 30 assists. Gave you 37 assists on the night. If the starters kept playing, they might have gave you 50 assists the way things was rolling. The biggest lead was 34, and the Knicks cruised to a win. And good timing, too, because you're about to go on a 5-game road trip, the longest road trip of this Knicks season. And we're going to talk about it all, the good, the great, and more good. And before we talk about the details of the game, I'm going to introduce you to my guy, the Latin assassin, Lee Escobedo. What's going on, Lee?
I have a new title, the president of the Jericho Sims fan club. Let's go, Sims! I have reversed my opinion on Sims. I was hella harsh on him first 6 or 7 games of the season. But when I started really paying attention to his defense and the game the cat was out, I really fell in love with his effort. And I'm going to be pushing the Sims agenda for the rest of his season as long as he continues this kick-ass defense and rebounding.
Ebony has taken over your body. I'm convinced Ebony has taken over your body. But now I agree, man. Sims is doing his thing on defense, and I know all the other channels are gonna preach Ariel over Sims or Ariel over Sims. I love Ariel's game. He's gonna be a great player for this team. But I'll just keep saying Sims' defense has been really good, and it's kind of gone under the radar because it hasn't been super flashy offensively, and I appreciate his game. But before we even talk about Sims, let's get into other topics that I definitely want to talk about. But shout out to the people in the chat, man. Shout out to you guys, Prezi the Boss, Mark Bourgeois, and everybody else who's rocking with the KOT show. I see you in the chat. If you're here and you're new, hit that like and subscribe. We're here talking Knicks after the games. All right. Can I talk about team identity for a second? Can I talk about diming the ball for a second? Can I talk about team assists? Can I talk about Jalen Brunson for a minute, Lee? Can I? Because I remember last season, even this season, people were talking about Jalen Brunson's passing. He needs to pass more. Last season, he was getting this selfish moniker that was driving me absolute bananas. Did he need to pass the ball more? Yes. Did he need to learn how to pass the ball to the bigs more? Yes. But I was always under the belief that if we had more talent and he had less need, Jalen Brunson's assist numbers would go up. And it absolutely has. Jalen Brunson right now, as today, is 11th in the league in assists at 6.8 assists per game. The team in general, they're giving you 30-plus assists per game so far, and we're thriving for it. I thoroughly believe, we've been saying this for a while, he's still learning to play that point guard position. He's still a young guard. He's still learning this team, and he's growing before our eyes. I saw a bunch of different passes, Lee. I saw a lot of great passes that I hardly even saw last year. Like he's going to the hole, whipping it to 3-point shooters. He's doing wraparound passes, and shout out to the cops in the background. He's doing wraparound passes to Cat. I feel like I'm seeing a little bit more creativity from his passes from Jalen Brunson as of late, and I'm really appreciating it. And the effect it's having on his team. So shout out to Jalen Brunson, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from his not just his scoring, but the diming and the effect it's having on the team.
I mean, there's some fair conversation and criticism to be had from Brunson. I've been engaging in it. It's one of the reasons why his auntie stopped following me on Twitter, because I don't even feel like I was being harsh. I was just pointing out the obvious, that the shooting hasn't been as efficient as we've seen in the orange and blue jersey since he arrived on the team. He's shooting a career low from the field. It's about 46%, which is still not Jordan Poole numbers, but it's not that level of efficiency that we've seen with him playing next to Randall. A lot of that is based on adjustment. But there's also, if we dig into his stats and get a little bit deeper, he has his worst defensive box plus minus numbers. He has his worst win share numbers by a lot, too. 1.2 compared to 11.2. last year in terms of win shares. Defensive win shares down to 0.1 from 2.4 last year, and offensive win shares from his career high of 8.8 last year to 1.1 this year. So there's definitely some conversation that's very fair and very just in how he's been able to acclimate and adjust with two very strong on-ball players in Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges join him in the starting lineup, as well as another guy who kind of needs the ball more than that catch and shoot 3-point player that Tiz has had at the three. Like, there's a lot more on-ball usage of Hart than there is for Grimes. Hart's doing a lot of secondary playmaking, where Grimes is just catch and shoot. So that's something he's had to adjust to as well. Different actions being run. There's a lot of action that's being run that he's not even a part of. And now he's having more and being an off-ball role that he had to adjust to in Dallas, where it's a lot of like strong side with Cat and OG, who are developing a really nice two-man game, with their Cat showing off his best polish passes given to backdoor cuts by OG. So it's a big adjustment for Jalen Brunson, but we're lucky that if there's one thing Rick Brunson did inherit to him, it's very high basketball IQ. Brunson clears his dad on everything except for that. I've always thought his father was that's when I got into hoops. I started watching his dad. He was a really high IQ player, really knew when to take charges, when to go for steals, when to handle on defense, and Brunson has some of that too. So I think that's why you're seeing this gradual adjustment to him being able to be highly effective and efficient and picking his spots. You're also seeing a smaller shot diet, and you're also seeing him get other guys involved and help Cat be more of a give and go game and not have to be so reliant on post ups and ISOs, but more just catching a pass and going downhill. So listen, he's one of the smartest players in the NBA, one of the most talented players in the NBA. And what I love the most about him is that he's allowing Cat to right now be the best offensive player, and he's okay with that secondary option for these last handful of games. If that continues, does he go back into a pecking order? I think he will. But right now, the team's looking really good with Cat as a first option.
Yeah, I'm not even saying there isn't no criticism to be had about other facets. I'm saying there was a narrative that he was selfish, and I never bought that he was a selfish player.
Neither did I.
And I always felt like, hey, if we had more teams, if we had more options offensively, his assists will rise. And he was doing a lot. He's a natural scorer, but he was forced to be that times 20 because we didn't have the options to share the rock. I remember him passing the ball and people were bricking open threes. Now when he passes the ball, we're number 7 in the NBA in 3-point percentage. It's a completely different team, which allows him to be a completely different Brunson. And the team is functioning well for it. Like, even these last few games, the shot diet, everybody's shot is kind of been like pretty much even across the board, really, for the last few games. Everybody's pretty much eating. OG had 12 shots. Karl-Anthony Towns had 14 shots. Mikal had 14 shots. Brunson had 15 shots. Like, the wealth is being spread. Is looking very equal opportunity. No one cares who's shooting the ball, who's passing, and I like it when you have so many great offensive weapons. I love this approach, and Karl-Anthony Towns being here helps that as well, because Karl-Anthony Towns passing has been phenomenal. And Lee, in the spirit of giving props with Sims, I'm going to give props in Karl-Anthony Towns passing, and I will officially say today on this program that his passing is better than Julius Randle's.
My man.
I'll say it. And And you know what it is? It's the behind the head passes. It's the behind the head passes. It's those for me. And it's funny because I feel like the passes, the turnovers that he was getting, setting people up in the Timberwolves, he's not doing that here. I don't know if I don't know if it's because we're just using him differently as like a guy who is passing at the top of the key. And it's like opening up his passing even more, and he didn't really have that he didn't really have to do. He wasn't asked to do that with the Timberwolves, but his passing to me is popping off the screen more with the Knicks than it has with the Timberwolves, in my opinion.
Yeah, I made a comment to that. Last year, watching them with the Wolves, they don't have the backdoor cutters or slashers like we do. That's a big difference. He was shared most of his minutes with Rudy Gobert, so he was doing the bid lob passes, which was highly effective. He doesn't have that here, but now that he's by himself at the 5, he has way more room to operate. So now OG and McHale and even Josh Hart are filling those lanes for the backdoor passers. If you think about the roster he was playing with, Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley, these are guys that even no longer have a capability or never have been hard strain and cutters. So they're more catch and shoot guys in the mid-range or three-point shots. I think that's a roster construction, which also brings me to my next point to finish up the Brunson conversation. I never thought he was selfish. I thought that there was kind of some periods where he got a little ball dribble heavy and get into his ISO set a little bit too late. And by the time the shot clock ran out, there was no other bailout option to be had. But I think that's because trust. What was the ability of Quentin Grimes and Josh Hart last year, OG last year, Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein? If it wasn't a catch and shoot opportunity where they had space to get off a shot and they had to put the ball on the floor, he knew probable turnover. Whereas now you give out to Bridges and you give an OG, a more confident OG, or Anthony, who's like catch it and roll. There's a lot less opportunity for a closeout to stop them from being able to score. They can still put the ball on the floor and get to the hoop. You've seen Mikal Bridges 70% in the mid-range. You've seen OG Anunoby become a pull-up jumper assassin. You've seen Karl-Anthony Towns score in every way possible. Off ball, on ball, doesn't matter. So I think that's a big part of it too. But Brunson is not as cautious and worried about turnovers or missed shots or shot clock violations because the guys he's passing to can put the ball on the floor.
You're right, and I agree. Even Josh Hart, because this year's Josh Hart is not last year's Josh Hart, and it's not even the year before that Josh Hart. I will forever remember that screenshot of Knicks Miami in the playoffs when Brunson was triple teamed and Josh Hart was wide open, and he didn't pass in the ball
for a reason.
And I remember, and Josh Hart got on him about not passing the ball after that series was over. But I remember watching that series getting on Josh Hart because every time he did pass you the ball, you didn't do nothing with it. he would just hold the ball and the defense would reset and it would be a turnover.
Yep.
So this year's, even today, the ball goes to Josh Hart from 3. He's not hesitating. He's letting it fly. He's 2 for 5 from three today. So it's like, to your point, Lee, we have better offensive players around him. And even the guy who was here before, who wasn't shooting the rock or making plays decisively, he's now being decisive. And that makes a whole world of difference when it comes to the trust.
Yep.
And that's how you end up with 37 assist games. And we're number 11 in assists, Lee. And I think we're going to climb higher. I think he might end up being like top 5, top 4 in assists. The only teams that really slow us down when it comes to assists are those switching teams. How many switching teams are there really in the NBA?
3 or 4 tops.
Exactly. And when we were having problems, we were playing most of the switching teams in the beginning of our schedule.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So, like, I really expect us to be top 5, top 4 in assists by the end of the season. I expect we can still grow offensively for sure, because today I felt like it was a good game for Jalen Brunson because this is the first game where his shooting and his passing were on. Granted, this is the worst defensive team in the league.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah.
The Wizards are, yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst defensive team in the league, but that's how you play your game, man. Get some bodies on, get some moving cones on the floor and get your rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Get your moving. So hopefully this is the game that sets them up for the next game. that sets them up for the tough road schedule that we have coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Wizards are the only team that I would actually call a guaranteed win. I think the level of talent is too high. It's the highest it's ever been in NBA history. Teams like the Chicago Bulls, Brooklyn Nets, Toronto Raptors, they might have bad records, but they play really hard and they try hard and they're well coached. I can't say the same about this Washington Wizards team. It's like half the roster is waiting to be traded by the deadline, and the other half are young guys that are really unpolished, that are one-dimensional at this point. Like Kispert can hit threes, can't do much else of anything else. They're a scrambled roster that I think is easy pickings for a team trying to hone their identity, and I'm glad that we took full advantage of that. Some people were bitching about Tom Thibodeau having his starters in there late in the game. I understand the concerns about injury, but I think he really took this game as a opportunity to develop chemistry and have the starters out there longer to try some new things, to experiment a little bit, and I think it worked in our favor. You saw to me, the two-man game between OG and Karl-Anthony Towns, they really know where the other one's going to be at all times. And they're developing a really nice rapport with one another. And the most beautiful thing is they can both strain for each other. They can both come off the curl and pop for each other. They can both hit threes. They're both excellent in the mid-range. They're both unstoppable in the dunker spot. I don't know how you guard them when they get going. To me, it's even more deadly than Brunson and Cat because of OG's size and athletic ability and his strength. It's really kick-ass, and I think it's a whole new wrinkle that Tibbs is absolutely going to turn to against certain matchups in the playoffs. You're going to see a lot of offense being ran through those two. Where Bridges allows him to be the spot-up shooter in the corners where he's shooting 54% or like 43%. So it works out really well for our starting unit. And the key to that is the three-point shot being hit collectively, and now we're starting to raise our percentage as well as a team, and that's only going to better induce when Brad comes back, and maybe even Precious and Landry Shamet.
Really good point, Lee. Man, you got me mad. You got me really excited thinking about a Cat OG2 game.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's killer.
The way, I don't know what type of creatine OG takes. Cause that dude is strong, first of all, and he knows how to use his body in the post. Like, I don't think I remember him doing that last year to this degree, where he's just bullying people under the basket, sealing smaller guys, and just dunking on them. Crazy. He's got that down to the science at this point.
I think that Tibbs is copying a lot of the same action that Mike Malone's running in Denver. It looks real similar to Aaron Gordon and Joker, and the two men that they have operating out of the left elbow. That's where Joker does a lot of his damage, and you just have Aaron Gordon on that backdoor screen coming off the curl, going to the basket, and just ferocious dunking or a lob opportunity or a give and go, or then now you have Aaron Gordon in the short row operating and finding shooters in the corner. You're seeing a lot of that mimicked right now in New York with these two. And if you think about the build, they're very similar players, Joker and Aaron Gordon and OG.
I'm not gonna hold you, Lee. You're absolutely right. Like even like the way Cat is passing, I was like, holy shit. This is looking real. This is looking real Jokic.
Yep, it is.
It's looking very Jokic, like really Jokic. Like I'm dying right now. Somebody on some, I don't know who said this. Somebody on the channel said we're Denver Nuggets of the East. And I was like, huh? And the more and more I think about it, I was like, damn, that's a pretty damn good comp, especially the way we're kind of being built right now.
Yeah. I would say the one thing that's missing that Denver doesn't have that we do, its next factor, is Josh Hart. They don't have a Josh Hart on that team. And that is a little – Bruce Brown was probably the closest thing they had to a Josh Hart because he was a really good playmaker and a passer, but he's gone. So Josh Hart is just like a one-man transition. His fast break one-on-one in traffic, again, is probably the most high percentage shot. That or the Mikal Bridges fadeaway mid-range. Yeah. Those are two incredible bailout shots that you can turn to when you really need a bucket.
Yeah, I agree. We just built for death. And you're right, that Bruce Brown leaving was a huge blow for them.
It was.
A huge blow. Yeah. So So let's talk about Sims real quick too.
Let's go. Big body Sims.
Let's talk about Sims real quick.
My guy.
Because here's the thing with Sims, right? Sims, we said it, if you haven't watched the program last night, we talked about Sims' defense versus Ariel Caporti's defense and why we feel like Tibbs is going more with Sims because Sims is a better perimeter defender than Ariel Caporti. I think it really comes down to that. Ariel Caporti has good blocks. Sims is number 1 in the NBA in field goal percentage at the rim. And also can keep up with perimeter players as you saw today and even last game. But on top of that, now like the ball movement now is actually starting to benefit Sims. Where I felt like the last year he wasn't really getting a lot of lob attempts, but the more minutes he's getting, I feel like the team chemistry is building and he's going to get some lob attempts too. Thus, you're starting to see some Sims highlights. He caught a lob yesterday from Josh Hart, and he caught another lob today. That was
body.
Woof! Yeah, it was a murder.
Yep.
It was a murder. So I'm liking the confidence build from getting those type of shots because I really feel like Sims just needs some confidence on the offensive end to help expand his game and just execute some of those things he was doing in practice in the offseason. But I really like what I've seen from Sims.
I think this was last year and this conversation was being had. I'm going to hit some humility right now. I would be pro Ariel Hotporty because I think last year my eye was less trained than it is this year. And I did Vardero Ebony some props. Ebony last year in praising both Mitch, but especially Sims, talked a lot about hedging. And I was like, damn, like, let me look this up. And so I watched videos on when it's implemented properly. What does it look like? Who is some of the best hedging bids in the game in NBA history? So I did my homework. And this year, I really started appreciating, I mentioned a couple pods ago, Sims' commitment to hedging when on the double, the soft double on the defensive side. And he's been doing it to perfection. And I believe besides the perimeter defense, that's a second other reason I think Tibbs is playing him over Hotporty. Hotporty doesn't have the capabilities yet, doesn't have a lateral movement yet, doesn't have a discipline yet, also doesn't have the motor. That motor comes with time. Motor comes with opportunity and minutes increase. Sims is getting the minutes, and now that he was healthy during the summer, that he was able to condition, he came into the season able to hedge at the rate that Tibbs wants to defend the perimeter and defend the post, to where he's not having to rely on pure drop coverage. He's able to stay in the middle and guard more a mass area. That is making us a really deadly team on defense, but you have to actually look for it. That's not something that pops off the screen. The Hotporty dunks and the blots, those are easy to look at and be like, oh, snap, like we got a gym. And we do. No disrespect to Hotporty, but Sims takes a trained eye, and you really have to work toward seeing what he's doing on the floor, which is why Tom Thibodeau is the head coach and us, the fans, are not. Because that man knows ball, he watches tape, and he sees what I see, or I see what he sees.
Lee, this is exactly why when people talk about Sims and he hasn't gotten any better, I keep referencing the same game because it talks about he's doing exactly what you're talking about in this game. I keep referencing when the Knicks played the Nets, when Kevin Durant was on that team and he was going off, and they were forcing switches on Sims. Sims would head to a player, run back to Kevin Durant, then hedge again, and then run back to Kevin Durant. And he slowed him down in the fourth quarter for a few plays in a row. And that's when I was like, holy crap, Sims is really good perimeter defender. So in my mind, I'm like, that first year showed me that the defense is there and that maybe the timing was off, and that's why his defense was falling off because he was always injured after that. But I was like, that level of activity doesn't just go away when you're doing that in your first year, which is why I always said I still have some Sim stock. So it's like I still have my Sim stock. I don't know what's going to be of his career, if he's going to be here or not, because he still has 1 year left. We still have Ariel long term, but I definitely appreciate Sims for sure.
I could not see at this point Leon getting rid of Sims. I think he's going to be the next Taj Gibson. I think Tibbs really trusts him. because he does the little things, very similar to Taj. Taj doesn't have a flashy game, doesn't have the athleticism to be an elite shot blocker, but he protects the rim in the same way that Sims does. Sims has really perfected going up vertically, using his arms and his hands without fouling, but also using his chest to create distance between the opposing player and the hoop. He's doing that. He's one of the best actually in the league at doing that. It's on an AD level, but it's a really minute niche thing that he does as good as AD. He does nothing else as good as AD, but he does that one thing, which is protect the rim at a really elite non-foul level. And he's also, someone in the chat said it. Let me switch through so they made sure I did their props. Prezi the boss. He's not just hedging constantly, multiple times on a possession. He's also on the offensive side setting multiple picks. A lot of times when Brunson sets up, you know he's going to reject that first screen. So now Jericho is having to do that soft screen and then roll around to a secondary player that's eventually going to take the shot and set a screen for him to get open too. And he's doing that on every single possession. He's never still. He never just gets in the post and acts like he's going to seal somebody and do a move. Whether he practiced that in the summer, cool. It's translating to the game. He knows where his IQ is at, and he's concentrating on little things, setting screens, multiple screens. 1, 2, roll around off ball, screen off ball for somebody, and then you have an open shot. I counted 4 possessions in a row in the third quarter where he set 3 screens, and the last one he set was off ball for the guy that eventually made the 3. Sometimes it was Brunson as a recipient. Sometimes it was OG. Sometimes it was Mikal Bridges. And I was like, damn it, Sims. I got to give you props, bro. And look, this is apology in real time, right? It's only been 10 games. It's, again, I think at some point he became a punching bag for fans that aren't willing to do the work to understand his value. I didn't want to be that fan, so I did the work. And I got to say, I'm sorry, Jericho Sims. My bad for calling you a bum. It won't happen again. I see your value. I see your worth. I hear you. I see you. You're my guy.
All right. All Jericho Sims fan clubs. Yeah, I might want to clip that whole thing up. That's
Jericho Sims muse.
Yeah, the Sims. Yo, just start the Sims muse now, man. Just start it. Because I don't know if you're gonna hear a better Jericho Sims defense anywhere else. And I'm gonna just end by saying this: our appreciation and love for Jericho Sims does not mean we hate Ariel Akporti. I have a very fond love for Ariel as well. It's not one or the other. I love both of those guys. All right.
I told you last night, Jay, in 1 year, Ariel Akporti will be better than Sims. Absolutely. This is really the only season that Sims has a chance to impact the game in a rotation. I think next year's Akporti is going to pass him up in the rotation, as he should. He is a better player right now, but Sims is committed to doing the little things, and that has earned Tibbs' trust. Once you have Tibbs' trust, you're in the rotation.
Right. Which is why I say I'm not sure what's going to happen with him next year, because between him and Precious with these 1 year deals, I just know from watching these Knicks last few years, those 1 year deals be tricky, man. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's going to happen when there's 1 year deal left. You could be traded to the Timberwolves. You don't know. Right. You just don't know. If he's here, I'm not complaining. Complaining. If he's here. Speaking of projects and young talent and players is coming on, my guy Pac, Mr. Steal Your Minutes Part 2. Pacome has officially taken Matt Ryan's minutes. Matt Ryan was here to be a 3-point shooter. He came over here, didn't shoot well the first game, didn't shoot well the second game. Defense was so-so. Tibbs woke up one day and said, "Self, I have a guy on the bench that we drafted that can actually play decent defense and hit some threes. Why don't I play that guy?" And today he had 3 threes, played some great defense as well. He got a foul called against him that wasn't a foul, and he's just moving on nicely. And he's like the opposite of like OG and those guys. He's like the smiley face assassin. You know, like he hits a 3 and he's like smiling, like yeah, he's truly playing with the joy of a young kid. He's having the time of his life playing right now. So small shout out to Pacome, Dadiet, and I'm happy to see your progression, and hopefully you get more minutes as time moves on.
Yeah, that's stat nerds were crazy for Matt Ryan at 45% that he shot on like 2 attempts last year in New Orleans in like I think 20 something games. That's cool and all, but you got to play defense when you play for Tom Thibodeau. If you don't bring defensive acumen and sound defensive fundamentals, you are not going to crack the rotation. And if you do, your leash will be short and you'll be out in no less than a month. Shout out Evan Fournier. No one knows better than him. So Pacome plays defense, and that's what keeps him in the game. He doesn't overcommit. He made smart decisions. He doesn't do titty-tat fouls. He stands his ground. He moves his feet well. He doesn't let a play. If he gets blown by, he tries to be active with the behind-the-bat swat or at least deflections. Those are the things Tibbs really likes. Tibbs is watching tape, and it's pretty clear the defensive effort between Pac and Matt Ryan. So that's the right move. I don't give a crap how much Matt Ryan shot in limited attempts last year. As you taught me, it's about volume. 1.2 or 2 shots a game, you ain't really impacting anything. You can't be counted on in big moments. So Pacome, I think at least he comes in and provides pretty solid above average defense when either Bridges or OG sits.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with his foot speed side to side, because detail wise, when you're playing defense, the tricky thing is staying in front of your man while sliding your feet horizontally, but also kind of staying close enough so you to bother him and far away enough not to like foul him. And that's like a tricky thing to master. And he seems to do a really good job of doing all of that. And then he has the long arms that bothers his shot as well. Like I said, the foul he got today, I don't even think it was a foul. I felt like it was a bailout call for the ref because they expected a foul. But when I watch him play defense, I'm like, damn, he plays like picture perfect technique defense. I think he's going to be really good defensively next year, even better, because this is his first year in the NBA, and he's like learning from OG and McCall, and he's going to be a problem, man. He's like, if he gets better, then you're going to have the long arms of OG with Pacome, and like that's going to be nuts when he starts to develop defensively. And if he starts to get more volume on his threes, it's going to be even crazier. But I really like this kid, man, for sure.
Yep. And Jay, I mean, you've seen what that role, but he comes in and plays, which is primarily off ball, it's catch and shoot on the perimeter, with very little on ball opportunities. You've seen how that role has developed with Grimes filling that, or with Cam Reddish filling that, or Dante DiVincenzo. All those guys got better. And maybe not Cam all the way, but even Cam improved in some of his time as a starter. You get to a point to where Tibbs is running you in these practices and doing the same thing over and over and over again until you gain repetition, knowing what your role is and who you're guarding at all times and communicating loud and verbally on the court. So I think Pacome, you're right. He already has the motor, and he seems to have a good adaptability with a high IQ. If that shot's falling, he's more than what Grimes should ever be because of his build and size.
I will never forget this statement you made, man.
Uh-oh.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's what I co-signed. It's what I co-signed. When you said Pacome, Dadiet is everything we thought Kevin Knox would be, I was like, damn.
That's true. And not just because they're both light skinned. It's real. It's the role.
I was like, we did want Kevin Knox to be, like the long arm guy who disrupts people, who can hit threes, and that's what Pacome is being right now. That's crazy.
You know what the difference is, bro? And I know you know this. It's motor. That's what it comes down to. It's motor. It's motor. And it's also
IQ too.
It's not having a fragile confidence. Cam Reddish, very talented player, super fragile confidence. Same with Quentin Grimes. Same with Kevin Knox. But this kid, Pacome, Dadiet, really all three rookies, Hot Porty, Dadiet, and Tyler Kolek, they've been benched. They've all been yanked out of the rotation or out of the game because they missed an assignment or they missed a rotation defensively. And they have bounced back and still played solid the next game. So I think that's also one of the reasons why Cam Payne continues to play. Tibbs favors guys with no ego and can handle whatever role is given to them and call upon when their number's called.
Absolutely. Shout out to my guy Corey Lee, who sends a $5 super chat. I don't have the gunshots today, but There you go. Got the gun right there. All right. He says, lead with the Mr. T earring. LMFAO. I pity the fool who don't rock with the Knicks.
Y'all know me, man. I've been in a good mood lately. So as my spirits rise, so do my insane fashion choices. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming out of a depressive slump. I'm feeling good, baby. Let's go. Pure vibes, man. Pure vibes.
The more the Knicks win, the more eccentric we will dress.
Oh man, I'll watch out for that Mike Tyson face tat.
Oh my gosh, just don't wear what Mike Tyson wore during his life. It will be okay. I don't want to get banned.
Demonetized, man.
Yeah. Just keep it on the face tats.
Don't nobody want to see those cheats. Not even me. Man. Not even me. I am dead. Damn, bro. Got tears in my eyes.
Oh, man. Okay. Prez says Lee's about to come to the pod with deep rings. I mean, how do you? Never mind. All right.
How would you know, though? Oh my God!
How would you know?
Listen, Dennis Rodman is my favorite person of all time. I love me some Dennis Rodman.
Well, that explains a lot.
We're from the same hood. That's my guy, man. I love Dennis.
Oh man.
Yes, it does explain a lot. You're right.
That's connected right here.
Okay. Oh man. Oh man.
Salute to the chat. Salute to. I hope you're enjoying the show. Hit that like and subscribe button, man. We're here talking Knicks basketball and enjoying this Knicks win to the Wizards. All right. Shout out to the Predicate. I see the Predicate. Shout out to Prezi. Shout out to Gregory Lee. Shout out to JB Deal. Shout out to Space Ghost. I remember the show Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And shout out. I saw my guy from Atlanta. Was it Keith Watkins? I saw Keith Watkins coming earlier. Shout out to you, Keith Watkins. Everybody rocking with the show. And yeah, thank you for the super chat for sure. All right. So we won that game. Now it's time for a 5-game road trip, and this is where the test comes. Cause it's good that we won against the Wizards, but let's be real, it's the Wizards, right? It's the Wizards. It's a tune-up game before we go on the road. I'm gonna ask you the question, Lee, because we have a 5-game road trip coming up. And the games are next game versus what's the Suns, Utah, Nuggets, Mavs, and then Hornets. Which game do you feel like is the one that we should be most concerned about, or the biggest challenge? I'll say that's the better language than most concerned.
Shocking choice, the Hornets. The Hornets have a type of guy in terms of the art type that has murked us since Jalen Brunson's joined the team. That is a really crafty 3-level scorer, someone who the refs respect and give a lot of calls to, someone who dominates in pick and roll, and someone who can shoot threes from way beyond the arc. And that's LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is having an unbelievable season. And Brandon Miller and the wife beater over there, those guys are clicking on all cylinders, and they have some really good depth at center as well with Mark Williams and Nick Richards, both who have been really good lob threats. They look very competent under head coach Charles Lee. I mean, they finally got the right coach to figure them out, and that I feel like their athleticism, their pace, the transition game, how slow we are, how over-dependent we can be sometimes offensively with the three. I worry the most about them, shockingly. Most might expect me to say they're one of the champions in Nuggets or the Mavs, but both those teams are struggling right now. The Hornets are actually outperforming. Even though they might not have the best record, they play hard every single game, and they tend to play really well against the good teams. So I would say the Hornets. I think we go 3-2.
Yeah, we definitely have struggled against those high-octane pick-and-roll teams. The Hornets are definitely a high-octane pick-and-roll team. We're going to have to get it together versus the Hornets. I wonder. I would love to see Tibbs switch on pick and rolls more to see if that kind of slows things down. But we'll see how it goes. We've been using McCall as the guy who was just going to fight over screens the old-fashioned way. But we'll see how this goes. Well, hopefully, it turns out better for us this game. I'm not mad at that pick. The Mavericks always. I feel like the Mavericks every year. I feel like we get them while they seem to be struggling, and then they kick our ass.
Oh man, PTSD, bro.
Like every time, it's like, oh, they're struggling right now. We should be, and then Luka goes for like 100.
Oh, bro.
Kyrie perpetually hates the Knicks, so he always gets up for us. So I don't think that one's gonna be an easy game either. And for some reason, we always kind of catch the Nuggets. We always kind of catch the Nuggets slipping a lot of times. Maybe they remember that, maybe they don't. But I'm looking at the Mavs, and I'm not mad at that Hornets pick though. I'm not mad at that Hornets pick whatsoever.
Yeah, the Mavs are really. It's kind of depends on if Luka plays or not. Strangely enough, they've played really awful with Luka Doncic this season. He has had the worst statistical season of his career in terms of shooting efficiency. Kyrie Irving's been the best player on that team. Irving is balling, not just playing really well and leading the team, but also hitting game winners. They didn't have Luka last night, and PJ Washington returned, and they beat the snot out of OKC. That it wasn't as close as it looked. I watched that game simultaneously as a Knicks, and OKC had only lost one game at that point, and Dallas beat the brakes off of them. They really killed him in pick and roll. Lively and Gafford as a roll man. They weren't just dunking in the lobby; they were also passing out the cutters and shooters too. So they had playmaking in all 5 positions. That's really hard for us to defend. And Kyrie meant we don't have a player who can guard him. You saw OG last year. Kyrie destroyed OG Anunoby. It was OG's worst game as a Knick in the regular season. Was dark. Kyrie had like 50 that night or 45. I was in the building and it was awful. Mikal Bridges had not shown that he can guard the point of attack either, so I don't have confidence in him guarding him. And he cooked Miles McBride as well last year. So we just hope Jalen Brunson finally has a great game in Dallas and does what he needs to do. I'll be in the building. I think that might be bad luck because last time I was there, I got booed out of the stadium and almost got in a fight in the parking lot. So who knows, man? I might end up missing a pod because I did punch in the face because I talked to last match. I'm in Dallas. I really need him to win because I always have a lot of money on the line too.
My man put his money where his mouth is.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's funny because like I feel like Dallas is always a weird matchup for us because we don't really have the like you said, Luka cooks OG.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually you put McCall on the best offensive player. So it's like, do you put him on Luka or do you put it on Kyrie? You know, it's just like, okay, now where are you hiding Brunson? You know, like they're like a weird matchup for us. We have Cat. That's the thing. Cat.
They have no.
That's we have to lean on Cat for offensively for sure, but defensively, it's kind of like the match tricky for us with the Mavs.
Agreed.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching these 2 games to see how I respond and see what Tibbs schemes up for sure.
I did say about a week and a half ago, I looked at this stretch that we just finished, and I said this was when Tibbs was really blowing late game execution, and we were losing. I think we lost to Chicago. I believe it was a Chicago podcast, and I said these 4 games we have at the start of November, the middle of November, I feel like that's a test. If we don't come out of that either 500 or below, there's some serious conversations about Tom Thibodeau's ability to coach his team as a contender. And we came out of this 3-1. So I feel really good about that, as well as a 3-game win streak. Love that we beat back-to-back Brooklyn. All those signs show to me that Tibbs is adjusting and adding new wrinkles. I mentioned a few of them and some of those play calling that he's added between OG and Cat. Some of the play calling he's added between Brunson and Mikal. So the defensive adjustments with the early switch with OG and the pick and roll. So I have some faith that Tibbs is going to turn it around and find our identity defensively. And we already have improvements from Cat, who I thought played really solid defense tonight as well. Granted, he was playing Jonas Valanciunas and also Jericho Sims. We're getting good defensive minutes out of the 5 spot.
For sure. No, I agree. I agree with all points, man. All right, yo. I think we talked about everything. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for rocking with us, man. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new, and share. The share is going to help us share that, we're talking some good basketball over here. So shout out to you guys, and thank you guys for the support always. All right. Mark Bajor says we're going to need Deuce for the Dallas and Denver game. Yeah. Hopefully he's over his illness and he'll be back healthy against Dallas for sure. Hopefully Precious is close to returning. We'll need him to help with Joker. I don't expect Precious to be back for this stretch at all, unfortunately. I haven't heard. Have you heard any news about Precious practicing? I don't think I haven't heard any.
2 days ago, it was reported by what's his name? I can't remember at the moment. It was reported that he had ramped up his practicing, but he was not doing physical contact yet.
Right.
Conditioning that had increased. So yeah, we'll see. I kind of agree with you. Maybe by Dallas. I think Dallas would be the earliest that we could see him back, and that's when we're going to need him the most on Luka.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That might be the matchup. Because he has the speed and some of the size, not the weight, but he'll have everything else to kind of slow him down.
And he's a sneaky rim protector. He's really hitting the rim.
Agreed. Super agreed. Anna Grill, what up? Shout out to you. All right, man. So, any bruhs?
Pick. Philadelphia 76ers, man. The wheels are falling off. If memory serves correctly, lost in the night to the Miami Heat. Yes, I know, no Tyrese Maxey, but losing 89-106 to a Miami Heat team that's under 500 and cannot score outside of isolation Jimmy plays, like, bro, Jimmy Butler's had the worst season of his career, and you let him drop 30 tonight and 10 rebounds. The defense is ass. The offense is even worse. Jerry McCain has really looked like their best player over the last 5 games, which is saying a lot. Yeah, Jerry McCain, solid draft pick. A little zesty, if that's your thing, but I appreciate him for being different as a Dennis Rodman fan. But the rest of the roster, bro, Kyle Lowry, 0 points tonight in 19 minutes. Joel Embiid, 11 and 8 in 38 minutes. Caleb Martin has been shooting terrible. Kelly Oubre Jr. has been shooting terrible. Eric Gordon still it's completely washed. Andre Drummond's giving you nothing but rebounds, but it's completely empty buckets. And really, Paul Reed was a better lob option than he was. So the roster construction looked really good on paper. It fooled me. I was wrong. There's bad chemistry issues. Joel Embiid does not look like he really wants to be there anymore. Paul George was an overpay. They're missing Maxey badly. I don't blame the coach. Nick Nurse is solid. Won a chip, maybe a little overrated, but to me, this is about the roster and the continuity, and Joel Embiid is a leader. So that's my pick is Joel Bum-ass Embiid and the rest of the 76ers. Enjoy being 2-11.
I call out the Ubra because I'm happy they're losing, but bro, that's sad. The Ubra, the real Ubra. But yeah, I agree with you. It's like once again they will be fighting to be a playing team. Once again. Crazy how that works. And Grill says zesty? ? LOL. Listen, we can't. Knicks fans, we have no room to talk about zesty anymore. All right,
especially me. Of all the Knicks fans, me especially.
Cat's our guy now, so we have no room.
Very true.
We can't. Wait, listen. As long as he's getting buckets, that's it.
Agree 100%. I'm sure that's how 76ers fans feel about Jerry McCain. The boy's balling. He's a great three-point shooter, great playmaker, killer passer. He's a great rookie. I think he's been a top 5 rookie so far this year.
That's what's up. All right. Cool. Well, you know what? That's the show.
Let's go.
Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, we can end it right there. I don't know if you have any book club recommendations or anything.
Not tonight. Nope.
Yeah, I'm clean too. I haven't been no new anime or anything recently. Hopefully I'll find something new soon. It's getting lonely. All right. All right, but that's the show, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to tune in for the next show, which will be on Wednesday.
Phoenix.
Let's go. And Phoenix, Kevin Durant has a calf injury. So calf strain, so I don't expect him to play.
So does Beal.
And so does Beal. So we should win that game, but let's not take teams lightly because the Bulls just did happen a few days ago. All right. That's the show.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Peace.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.